Hello everyone, welcome to Earth Archives. Please take a moment to subscribe, like, comment, and share, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell. Thank you. Today's topic is the essential role of beer in building the pyramids. When we think of the monumental structures of ancient history, many of us immediately picture the pyramids of Egypt, especially the Great Pyramid of Giza. While it was once believed that these marvels were built mainly by slaves, current theories suggest that they were constructed by free workers employed by the pharaoh. However, what most people don't know is that without beer, it would have been nearly impossible to find workers to build these pyramids. But why was this the case? According to Egyptologists, the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza spanned about 20 years, with an average of 10,000 workers employed daily. During this period, each worker was provided with 5 liters of beer per day. Based on this calculation, a staggering 365 million liters of beer would have been consumed over those 20 years. And this only accounts for the Great Pyramid. When considering the other numerous pyramids and the tombs of the Valley of the Kings, the total amount of beer supplied is beyond estimation. Some scholars even say that while the Nile River carried 3 million liters of water per second, there was, in effect, another river of beer, flowing during ancient Egyptian times. Research has shown that beer breweries can be found in the archaeological remains surrounding the Great Pyramid, indicating that these construction sites were essentially small cities where workers lived. We know that ancient Egyptian agriculture was closely tied to the flooding of the Nile. During these flood periods, farmers would come to work on these grand projects. Their wages consisted of bread and, more importantly, beer, which was considered even more valuable. These facts are supported by the discovery of clay tablets, which confirm that beer was considered a national beverage in ancient Egypt. From pharaohs to the poorest citizens, everyone drank beer, and it was even believed that beer was a gift from Osiris, the god of agriculture and the underworld. In a 2011 interview with Smithsonian Magazine, beer archaeologist Patrick McGovern stated, "Beer was a vital source of nutrition and hydration in ancient Egypt, and an essential part of wages for laborers. Without beer, workers would likely rebel, and without an adequate supply, the construction of the pyramids might not have been possible." Archaeological evidence indicates that workers on the pyramids received daily rations that included 3 or 4 large loaves of bread and about 5 liters of beer as part of their wages. We know that alcohol consumption can impact daily life and work. Although beer in ancient Egypt had a low alcohol content of only around 2%, excessive consumption could still pose issues, especially during the strenuous labor of building the pyramids. This contributed to a number of accidents during the transportation of heavy stone blocks. Excavations at Giza have revealed over 600 tombs belonging to workers and craftsmen, as well as at least one medical facility. In ancient Egypt, where medical practices were rudimentary, amputations were not uncommon. Workers involved in constructing tombs in the Valley of the Kings enjoyed a higher status, as evidenced by their 10 weeks of annual leave, during which many of them would brew beer. With such frequent alcohol consumption, it's evident that the risk of alcohol intoxication was significant. In 2010, archaeologists discovered a 4,000-year-old workers' cemetery in Giza containing 12 skeletons alongside containers that once held bread and beer. According to ancient Egyptian traditions, these provisions were meant for the deceased to take into the afterlife, even including materials for brewing beer. A depiction of beer brewing is also clearly illustrated on the tomb walls of Kenamun, the steward to Pharaoh Amenhotep II. At construction sites, beer and bread often served as a form of currency for workers. In a letter transcribed by Christian Desroches' noble court, an ancient Egyptian master chastised a scribe, saying, "I have been informed that you neglect your duties in copying texts and indulge in pleasure, lingering in taverns, letting beer rob you of your shame and leading your mind astray. Oh, if you understood how vile wine is, you would curse sweet wine and abandon your attachment to beer and foreign wines. The Westcar Papyrus recounts a tale set in the era of Pharaoh Khufu, featuring a 110-year-old man who allegedly consumed 500 loaves of bread, half an ox, and 100 jars of beer daily. However, this is likely an exaggerated story, an amount even the most prodigious eater would struggle to manage. Due to the critical role of beer in the construction of pyramids and tombs, the status of brewers at the work sites was elevated. This importance is exemplified by a 5th dynasty statue of a beer brewer, donated by Egypt to UNESCO in 1968. The limestone statue depicts a stout man sitting formally, with his name engraved at the base. Although brewers held high status, any mistakes in their craft could result in severe consequences. Poor quality brewers might be condemned to drown in beer, while those selling adulterated beer could be forced to drink until death, a truly terrifying prospect. In the British Museum, there is a record kept by Hormkenesi, an overseer from the Ramesseum Temple, detailing worker absenteeism. Of 40 workers, only 2 maintained perfect attendance over 6 months. The reasons for absenteeism varied wildly, from assisting supervisors and unexplained illnesses to brewing beer and suffering hangovers. This culture extended to the pharaohs themselves. Ramses II, one of the most famous Egyptian rulers, was even dubbed the brewer pharaoh by Egyptologists. He considered beer to be sacred and mandated that it be drunk from gold goblets. A devout worshipper of Amun, Ramses II reportedly offered 466,308 jars of beer, equivalent to around 1 million liters, as daily tribute, an astonishing volume. Similar to the Age of Exploration, when sailors preferred rum due to the lack of clean water, ancient Egyptians also struggled with maintaining clean drinking water, making beer the beverage of choice. Ramses II established state-owned breweries, monopolizing beer production and amassing significant wealth. For instance, in southern Egypt's Hierakonpolis, known as the City of the Falcon and potentially the earliest religious center, over 1,000 liters of beer were produced daily for soldiers and priests. By the reign of Ramses III, there was documentation of 13 varieties of grapes, with the pharaoh declaring, "I have planted vineyards in the northern and southern oases," not to mention countless vineyards in the south, which numbered tens of thousands more than in the delta, managed by gardeners selected from foreign captives. This expansion greatly increased the consumption of wine. By the time of Ramses XI, large-scale wine production began, despite its price being 5 times that of beer. Evidence of wine consumption dates back to the reign of Ramses II's father, Seti I. A report from a quarry mentioned that wine had already become part of the workers' daily diet, with even enough surplus for export. Despite the Egyptians' love for alcohol, some people abstained from it. Ancient texts advised, "Do not indulge yourself by drinking beer to excess, for when you speak, your words will be contrary to your thoughts, and you will not be aware of what you are saying. If someone seeks your advice and finds you passed out on the ground, you will look like a pitiful fool." However, everything changed with the advent of Islam in Egypt. As is well known, Islam prohibits the consumption of alcohol, considering it contrary to religious teachings. Drinking culture vanished, and starting in 1009, even wine was banned. Those caught drinking could be punished with 40 to 80 lashes. These records show that behind the construction of ancient Egypt's grand structures and tombs, alongside the agricultural bounty brought by the Nile's flooding, beer played an essential role. Did you find this part of history intriguing? Feel free to share your thoughts.